when you were protecting yourself from the truth. At first, avoidance looked like patience. You told yourself you were giving the relationship time, space, grace, another chance to become emotionally safe. But slowly something more painful began surfacing. You were not only protecting them from discomfort, you were protecting yourself from what the pattern kept proving. And that is where the trauma bond becomes devastating. Because sometimes the mind avoids truth not because it cannot see it, but because seeing it clearly would require grief, action, and separation. So the nervous system begins negotiating. It softens the injury, minimizes the pattern, searches for context, waits for one more return of warmth. Love should not make truth feel more dangerous than confusion, but in a narcissistic, covert narcissistic relationship, it can, especially after repeated cycles of withdrawal, intermittent warmth, blame reversal, emotional invalidation, guilt pressure, temporary reconnection, have trained the body to fear what clarity would cost. That creates limbo. One part knows the relationship is unsafe. Another part still reaches for explanation. One part wants freedom. Another part fears the emotional collapse that may follow. So truth becomes delayed. Not denied completely, delayed. Held at a distance, managed carefully, because if the truth is fully admitted, the fantasy starts dying, and the nervous system may have to stop waiting for the relationship to become what it has repeatedly failed to become. And that's the captivity. The trauma bond does not only keep people attached to another person, it keeps them attached to the version of reality that hurts less to believe. Trauma bonds survive when hope keeps editing the evidence. And over time, the person may begin feeling divided inside. They see enough to leave, feel enough to stay, know enough to grieve, hope enough to hesitate, and that contradiction becomes exhausting. Because the body keeps carrying the consequences while the mind keeps searching for a softer verdict. And eventually the deepest fear is no longer, what if I'm wrong? It becomes, what if I'm right? What if the relationship really has been unsafe? What if the warmth was never stable love? What if the pain was not a misunderstanding? What if staying required losing more of myself than leaving would? Healing begins when the nervous system stops treating truth as the enemy. Because truth may hurt, but confusion keeps the wound open. And freedom begins when you stop protecting the fantasy from the reality your body has already survived.